Hi friends, welcome back. So headline, Nvidia overtakes Apple as world's most valuable company. And that's the subject of today's video. We're going to go over Nvidia stuff and what else is going on in the market. Now, what's interesting is that this particular headline is actually not true as of now because markets are crazy out there. And let me show you guys this. This is where we are at the moment. Apple is the most valuable company. This is companies by market cap. After that is Nvidia. That's number 2. Then you have number 3, Microsoft. Number 4, Alphabet slash Google. Number 5 is Amazon. Number 6, Saudi Aramco. Number 7, the Meta platforms. That's Facebook. Number 8, Taiwan Semi, right? Then you have Berkshire Hathaway. That's Warren Buffett and the team. And then number 10 is Tesla. Tesla is now in the top 10 most valuable companies in the world. This is the crazy markets that we've been in. And I want to point this out to you guys. If you actually take a look at the top list of most valuable companies, 8 of them are in the USA, 1 is in Saudi Arabia, and 1 is in Taiwan. I also want to show you this because it's always important to take a look at this stuff and compare. This is, again, companies ranked by earnings, so how much money these companies make. Saudi Aramco comes in at number 1, Apple number 2, Microsoft number 3, Google, Alphabet number 4, and just take a look at this list because they're roughly in line. Then you got Berkshire Hathaway number 5, JP Morgan number 6, Nvidia number 7, Meta Platforms Facebook number 8, ICBC. That's a Chinese bank. I used to have an account there. I haven't lived there for a while, so whether or not I still have one, who knows? You can go ask them. And Amazon is number 10. It's funny, I forgot about ICBC. The one thing I want to mention with this is that when you look at this list, you're like, okay, why is Tesla number 10 on the most valuable companies in the world, but yet not in the top 10 on how much money they earn? In fact, if you actually look at Tesla here, they're ranked at 168. They're way down on the list. So this is sort of a simple way to talk about price to earnings ratio. Basically, when you price a stock of Tesla compared to how much a company earns being Tesla, it is way, way overvalued. Now, essentially the same way you talk about Nvidia or Tesla is it's a bet on the future. For Tesla's bet is you're betting they're going to be an awesome AI company, that they're going to have robotaxis everywhere, etc. And then the same with Nvidia, you're betting everyone's all going to get AI, and Nvidia is going to rule that. Now, what's interesting about Nvidia, this was a fascinating headline, and we talk about this all the time on the channel to where Nvidia makes up a lot of our market this year. Check out this headline. Nvidia has offset all 128 of the S&P 500 companies that have declined this year twice over. So essentially, if you bought in Nvidia, or even if you just bought an index fund, right, which we talked about before, just get something that tracks the S&P 500, Nvidia is basically making up all the gains and making up for the losers, which is actually really interesting. So you can see this here. This is, all the other companies. So there's your gains there. There's Nvidia's gains right there. And this green is Nvidia. And the 128 losing companies, so out of 500, right, 128 were losers this year. Nvidia is bigger than that. Now, to be fair, I guess you could put Apple and Meta platforms together, and it looks like about the same to offset that. But Nvidia, again, their gains is twice over the losers in the market. Now, one of the things that I talk about all the time on this channel, it is completely true, right? If you're lucky and you took 5 mortgages on your house, and you sold all of your cars and sold all your bitcoins or whatever and put everything in Nvidia, guys, I mean, absolutely, you did fantastic this year. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that strategy. I know some channels do, because the thing is, you could be wrong, right? So in this example, it's kind of funny. Out of 500 companies, what are your chances of picking a winner? So this particular year, think of it this way: you have I guess, we'll just call it a 1 in 5-ish chance to be wrong, and then I guess a 4 out of 5 chance to be right in terms of positive gains, at least according to this. That's kind of funny. S&P 500 performance this year. And this is sort of the question is, again, and it started with the intro, do you think Nvidia is going to take and keep the number 1 spot as most valuable company in the world? Now, the Tesla fanboys and fangirls will tell you, no, we're going to be the most valuable company in the world. But a lot of this has to do with essentially, performance overall as a company, and will we all adapt said technology? Now, as an investor, that's essentially what you have to do. You have to sort of feel it out for yourself, make your predictions about the future. Certainly, these kind of things are uncertain. So I always give you my opinion on this kind of stuff. So something like an Nvidia, I'm not feeling the AI stuff. It is true they make money. It is absolutely true they make money. Nvidia is swimming in cash over there. But will they keep swimming in cash? This is something I want to show you guys. So this is their valuation. You can see their grades. P ratios in the 60s and the 49, something like that, depending if you want to look at non-GAAP or if you want to look at forward, looking, meaning that predictions, which predictions are just, that's it, predictions, right? Forecasts, and they're not guaranteed. So depending if you want to look for either past or future, you can look at the PE gap, right? It's roughly about the same as the others. And you can also look at your PEG ratio. So PEG is your price to earnings growth. Usually you want your PEG around 1. And to be fair to NVIDIA, why it's exploded the PEG, right? So this is the past 12 months, 0.16, which is awfully, awfully low. So the stock has gone nuts. And then the forward looking, right, depending on if the forecast is going to be good, is at 1.29. So close to 1. It is actually, you could make the case if NVIDIA is going to keep on these levels, right, with these pegs and these earnings growth, you can make the case that you're around fair value. You could make that case. But do you believe in the model will continue? And that's sort of why we have this conversation. So again, I'm not a big fan of the AI stuff, but I understand that people are. The thing is with these things, is that reason why I say I'm not a big fan of the AI stuff is because it's also totally true. If you buy Bitcoin at the right time, you'll be swimming in cash also. But that's why I say all the time is our markets are crazy. To me, the whole Bitcoin crypto stuff is a big craze. I know the young kids like it. I really know. If you make these kind of videos about Bitcoin being awesome, you'll be very, very popular on social media. But us older folks, well, let's just say some more sane folks, because there are older people who are all about, Bitcoins, be it Michael Saylor's, whatever, BlackRock. They are pushing this stuff. And the thing for me, my feeling on these things is that, when push comes to shove and you're given a choice of like, okay, bad things are happening, et cetera, where are you going to run to? Are you going to, throw all your money in Bitcoin? Is that where you feel safe, right? For me personally, no, it's not where I would put my money when the stuff hits the fan. I'm not throwing my money into Bitcoin. That's just not what I want to do. But, this is sort of what you have to make the decision for yourself. And sort of also too why we have a community to have these chats together. I mean, this is a crazy market. I'm showing you this stuff because there's no other way to put it, guys, and it's sort of why I've been a little bit hyper the last couple of days. Hyper in terms of just on edge, uneased. It's just blood sugar levels kind of crazy. I guess is a better way to describe it. I mean, I guess North Korean troops are now in Russia. We're getting videos of this. This is just coming out just a few hours ago. You may have seen this stuff. It's all over, guys. I live in Korea, so it's all over the news for us. So if you don't know, I know in USA you'll call us South Korea and you call them North Korea, but we just call Korea, then we call them North Korea. But I guess these are the troops in, I guess the North Korean troops are in Russia now getting uniforms, etc. There's an interesting report. This is the English language version of it, but we had similar reports here in Korea. But the headline's like, "What the F to do with them?" So basically, the Russian soldiers, they were kind of making fun of the Korean soldiers that arrived there. There's going to be language barriers. Plus, why would North Korean soldiers go want to fight people in Ukraine? These kind of things, and it's just this whole thing is a mess. When you take a look at this stuff as well, there's real concerns here, and I don't on this channel I don't talk about this stuff all day, every day, because there hasn't been a need to. But in the world that we are right now, like I said, I usually don't get that concerned. But frankly, I'm actually quite concerned. When North Korea is sending troops to Russia, that's just unprecedented. So here's another headline: Ukraine war briefing. Russia plans to send. So this is a come from the Zelensky. He thinks Russia plans to send North Korean troops into battle as early as Sunday. So that must be the intel that they're getting. I mean, we'll find out if that's true almost probably right away. I mean, that's like tomorrow for us. Yeah, boy, 976 days has been going on. I just, I don't have anything good about to say about this stuff. That's all I have to say. I don't have anything good about to say about this stuff other than I can see that it's happening. The North Korean troops came from here. You can see here. So actually, I think they left from, I think he said is is it Vladivostok? I think is the name of the city. My wife's actually been there. She worked in a delegation from Korea to Russia because it's like, because I always ask my wife, what do the Koreans think about the Russians? Talking about it here in South Korea, what do they think about the Russians? It's not. I mean, you don't. Korea generally tries to be a little bit more neutral in this kind of stuff because I'll give you examples. So, a lot of Koreans here have factories in China. The same way, actually, Americans have factories in China too. So we do business with China. I don't think Korean companies necessarily sell a bunch of stuff to Russia. I don't think so. I think it's more only the Chinese that do that. But there actually are Russians that are here in Busan, where I live, or here in Korea. You'll see them. They'll come as tourists, etc. Because it's right there, Russia's like right there from us. It's close. So I wouldn't say like here in Korea like we think of Russia as being close friends like that because obviously Korea is more closer allied to the U.S. But I'm just saying the real concern from our side here is, is Russia getting really, really close to North Korea? Will Russia start, supplying weapons, technology, these kind of things? And you guys know Russia's got nukes. It's real. So that's sort of why I can't stress enough. We're on edge over here. And then this you can see this is where the soldiers are, just right on the border of Ukraine. So I'm keeping an eye on that. I mentioned this stuff because it's not just me. Treasuries are selling off. I can see this. I see the dollar's been spiking. Our currency's actually been going down. I think it's like a 4-month low, something like that. If you look at other markets compared to the U.S. market, this is actually quite interesting on the year. The blue line here is the S&P 500. So everyone's just throwing their money in the U.S. market, and you compare that to other markets around the world. I think this would be Europe. Yeah, it's what double performance of those. I think it's pretty similar if you compare it to the stocks in Asia. The U.S. market, this is everyone's throwing their money there, and that's why I showed you guys this list here before of the top performing companies in the world are tend to be American. You can see it right there. One of the things I want to mention though is that there are risks, right? And then so kind of what we're talking about today is like what's going on with the markets and how to think about where to put your money, etc. Right? You got to make decisions that make sense for you. I just try to go over the risks all the time and share thoughts on this stuff. We just talked about the Korea stuff. Now, I told you guys in a prior video, Israel is attacking Iran. Let's hope that's done. Can I predict this? No, I can't. I can't predict if Iran's going to hit back or not. I have no idea what these things are, other than the problem in today's sort of media driven and politically, election year, and it's like the presidential elections in 2 weeks. Everything becomes politically charged, right? So anytime I mention anything on this channel these days, any topic at all, someone's like, oh, if someone doesn't like, oh, Chris, you should just stay out of politics. Blah, blah, blah. It's like everything has to do with politics these days. It's crazy. So in this example, some people say, oh, Israel is attacking Iran now because they want to, turn the tide of election, in the direction that they want it to go. And guys, who knows? I can't tell you, what's going on in the minds of Israel other than I'm not happy about any of these events. And so this is where you get lots and lots of uncertainty. On top of that, and I want to show you just a couple other things. I feel like not only we have geopolitical uncertainty, and I'm showing you guys news here in Korea, because I think it's going to be similar to what's going on in the USA, is just that people are, kind of nervous. Like here's an example. We had a big job fair yesterday here in Busan. And it was interesting because the government gives incentives to companies to hire people. So I'll read it here. It says, the city will pay companies who hire regular employees through job fair. I guess they're going to give them about $725. And then if the company hires someone, then the government will give the company that money if the employee stays for 6 months. And they can only do that 5 times. So hire 5 people. So essentially what this means is that the government has to like give incentives for companies to hire people, because companies here are just like, I'm not hiring anybody. It's look, have you seen the economy? Have you seen what's, business performance, etc. And I don't think it's that much different in the USA. However, I will say this. I think, and I'll go back to this AI, Nvidia stuff. I think a lot of people are on edge, but not everyone. And what I kind of see happening is that there's just an increasing divide, unfortunately, between the haves and have-nots. If you feel it in the USA, I can just tell you, it's not just USA; it's everywhere around the world. For those of you, for those of us, however you want to say it, for the people who have, I'll just put it this way: for the people who have assets, and you watch, your funds go up, you're like, hey, everything's fine. What are you people complaining about? But like every time I flip on the news, I can see that there are layoffs. I can see that people are hurting right now. I don't know if I have it right here, but I was going to bring up the Boeing situation, but yeah, here's right here. Workers over at Boeing are on strike still, right? And they're asking for a pension. The headline here is saying, Boeing's workers want a pension. It won't happen. And I understand a lot of these financial publications tend to lean more towards management side, because essentially you're writing articles that favor management, that favor, stockholders, that favor the people with the assets, right? They don't want to pay workers more. They want to make those profits soar. But, I have a little bit different view on this stuff. I understand that in order to keep our system going, you need to have a balanced system. You can't just have all the power necessarily on one side. And so when I see sort of the AI stuff with NVIDIA's, I just see that as a way to essentially replace workers. And my personal opinion, I don't think it's sustainable. That's why I think this AI thing's a bubble. But I could be wrong. We could go in this whole, society where suddenly there's a whole bunch of workers out of jobs, right? Now, Musk would say that if that happens with AI doing all the work, then suddenly we have an era of abundance. But like, for who? You know? I'm not seeing it, but there's that. So I can see that workers are struggling. I know we're going a lot today, but I just wanted to go over this stuff. And so what other big concern is like, so here you have Kathy Wood selling Tesla, but the other big concern you have is like, what's going to happen with the election? That's in 2 weeks. Now, there's one thing I want to mention, and it was something I was thinking about. I was going back in time, thinking about the 2000 election, where we could have a very similar thing. If you guys don't remember, so if you don't know, I'm 49. So for younger people, you may not remember these things. Might be, you might have been a kid when this happened, but there was a whole deal of like what's going on with Florida because it came election night, and I'd never seen this before to where like it was basically a tie, and it came down to one state, right? So it's like whoever wins that final state, because they counted all the votes, and then like, well, what's going on with Florida? And actually, I think Fox News called it for Bush, but then they pulled back their call because again, it was actually so close they had to do a recount. And it took a long time. I can't remember how many days. It's in here somewhere. Maybe it was like 30 days or something. I remember it's something like that. You guys can remind me of the amount of days here. But one of the questions was kind of interesting, like what happens to the market? The market actually went down. It was like 8%, no, 7.8%. Yeah, well, roughly 8%. Because, markets, people don't like uncertainty. Like, who's going to win the election? How do I know where to place my bets? Because, like, if you watch all the financial channels and read the financial news, everyone's like kind of making, bets, if Harris wins, if Trump wins, these companies will do well, these companies will suffer. The same thing with Bush and Gore. Like, people were kind of placing their bets, but when, like, if you don't know who's going to win, you're like, I don't know, I'm just going to get out, cash out now, and see what happens and get back in when the dust settles. The thing is with these kind of things is and often in hindsight is 2020, right? Generally you want to buy the fear. When everyone else is rushing to the exits, that's your time to get stuff at a low price. But everything depends. So generally speaking, you're going to be safe with an index fund. Say the S&P 500, just for example. So on average, you're going to have more winners than losers. If you're going to try to pick winners versus losers, in this example of the S&P 500, you got a 1 in 5 chance of being wrong. And I mean, so you can say, well, actually my chances aren't bad, which is in this year, yeah, you're absolutely correct. But there's no guarantees of any of this stuff. And then the other problem is, and like I said, I'm not against it, but I just try to lay out the risk for you guys. The other problems though is that oftentimes on social media, people just pump up whatever the hottest trend is. So essentially, that's why Nvidia is pumped up all the time, because it's true. It's just been the best performing stock. It's gaining tons of market cap. It's really popular. But like, will it continue? And that's sort of why I like to have honest conversations with this stuff with you guys. Here's some other stuff that's going on in the market, and notice I don't give you like an absolute clear answer, because I don't know what's going to happen 10 years from now. I can tell you my sentiment on what I think about AI, and I've shared it with you, and I like to hear your thoughts. But I also show you like another example. So this would be an interesting one, and I think it's funny. I kind of made this video a couple days ago, regarding the McDonald's, the equalize situation. Like, hey, should you buy the fear of McDonald's? At least in our community, there's a lot of people who are like, nah, I'm not touching McDonald's. But it's an interesting question, because McDonald's has been a pretty stalwart business. People eat hamburgers all around the world, right? And I will say this: whenever I go to an airport, I almost invariably find a McDonald's there. It's the only thing open, and I usually get it for breakfast because it's like the only thing there, and it's a kind of a reliable food. But for me, it's more of a travel food. One thing though is going on, and I believe this is just the U.S., and I could be wrong. You guys let me know if it's going on in Canada or other countries. But McDonald's has an equalized scare. Now it's 75 people are sick. Last I checked, I think it was 49, so it's gone up. It's in multiple states. It's something with the onions, I guess. One person died actually, which is equalized, no joke. I mean, seriously. When I was a kid, I want to say, because I lived in the Northwest, because I don't know the Pacific Northwest, I want to say it was Jack in the Box had an equalized scare. And if you guys, if I'm wrong or right, let me know. I want to say it was Jack in the Box. If you never heard of Jack in the Box, there you go. They might be out of business, actually, pretty frank. I never actually went to a Jack in the Box. I mean, I used to see them there. It's kind of like, you see McDonald's, you see Wendy's. You see Burger King, and then there's Jack in the Box and Arby's. I never go to. I don't think I've ever been into Arby's in my whole life. I've seen them, but I don't think I've ever been to one. Jack in the Box, same kind of thing. And there's probably a couple other franchises that I just have never gone to, but yeah, there's that. So this is sort of what you have to gauge for yourself. I just because people always say Chris, tell me what's going on in the market, this kind of stuff, and this is what I'm telling you. And I know it's different than other channels. I really know, mostly because I try to give you an education on sort of everything and put it all together, opposed to just pumping up Nvidia all day or Tesla all day. I understand that. Because this is honestly like it helps you understand everything more clearly. When you see something like this, right? This has happened today. This was the FTC. They cracked down on Lyft. So basically, I think you could say Lyft was false advertising, telling drivers that you could make more than 30 an hour, but I guess it wasn't true. And so the FTC fined them. I can't remember what the exact fine was, and it's actually a really interesting thing because like when you put all these things together, like when you look at the whole, I see there's fear of war out there, right? I see people are struggling. We're talking about companies scamming you, saying you can make more money than you possibly than you actually can. I see the scams continuing on YouTube, right? This kind of thing, and then I see Wall Street trying to pump you up these basically, in my opinion, massive bubble assets. And in these kind of times, it is perfectly true, right? You want to buy things when people are scared, but just being a level head about this stuff. Also understand sort of where we are in history. I show you this from time to time. I can't show it to you every single day because frankly, it just shows the same thing, that we're in a bubble. This is the Shiller PE ratio. So if you look at the market, like price to earnings of the market, like we're high. We're at 36, about roughly 37. The highest in history has ever been is 44. So just like the market seems expensive right now. And every time we hit like around 40, usually we have a big pullback. We've seen it before. The one thing that I would be watching for right now is the Fed pumping in more liquidity into market, or are they taking liquidity out? Or basically another way to put it is, are they printing a bunch of money for everyone and giving a bunch of cash, and all those people taking that cash and throwing it into the market, or are they trying to get money out? And this is what we're watching. I know we talk about a lot of stuff all the time on this channel, but for me, this is actually really interesting. And again, for all these things, you got to do what makes sense for you. I always tell you the same things. Make sure your job's secure, right? Make sure you have good relationships. If you want to put your money in the market, the S&P 500 is a relatively safe bet. Probably these days, though, I'm just telling you the truth on this stuff. I would make the case that your value stocks are probably more beaten down than your tech stocks. It's easy to see. Just look at the chart. Nvidia's run up quite a bit, and it was funny because when I was thinking about this election thing with the 2001, you can't necessarily blame the downside of the market just because of the election. You were also had a bubble market back then, the .com, and you get these kind of things too, to where Apple's getting downgraded. This was just came out today. And I mentioned you guys this before because the Ming Kuo guy that was yesterday, he was saying, "Yo, Apple's having like 10 million less orders to production." So it looks like, and they're still going to sell phones, and this Apple's not going to go bankrupt, nothing like that. But this is something that you just want to ask yourself, is how are you feeling? How are your friends feeling? And what are you thinking about the economy going forward? And do the things that make sense for you. So in my opinion, I think that we're going to have a lot of volatility going up to the election, which we've been definitely seeing. And I think there's a high chance that there isn't a winner on election night. I think there's a high chance of that. And then you have another high chance, unfortunately, that there could be a particular side. We saw it before from the Trump camp. You got to mention it, that they wouldn't accept the results of the election. And will we see that again? I think that'll create more volatility. And there's that. So, guys, be careful out there. I know that there's just a lot of wild stuff going on, and that's why I enjoy hanging out with community with you, and talking what's going on in the markets and such. So thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.